Hi, I'm Andrew Kane, State Politics Editor at the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and with me are my colleagues, politics columnist Jeff Shapiro and politics reporter Dave Ress. We're here to talk about the Republican National Convention that gets underway on Monday in Milwaukee. Of course, the main business there is to nominate former President Trump to run for president again and to welcome his pick for the vice presidential nominee. Dave, they're going to have different themes sort of based on Trump's campaign slogan, Make America Great Again. Some of the things about the economy and safety and...
Actually, if you check the list of the themes, they're going to sound very much like his closing at that big rally in Chesapeake a few weeks back. Trump tends to say similar things with every remark, so I don't think people are expecting really dramatic things, except, of course, for one. The one that I think is going to make the Virginia party at the Marcus Performing Arts Center kind of popular, which is who's going to be the vice president.
Right.
This time round, it feels as if, Jeff, you may know this better than me, the presidential, the likely, almost certain presidential nominee in this case is keeping his choice for vice president really close to his chest, closer than I think in recent years.
Before we get to that pick, I just want to ask you, we know that Governor Youngkin is heading out there, but the Trump folks seem to be keeping this pretty close to the vest. Do we have a sense of who else might be going out from Virginia?
It's pretty tight right now. As of yesterday afternoon...
This is Friday.
This is Friday. As of Thursday afternoon, which is when Rich Anderson, the state party chair, was headed off for the Credentials Committee, we still didn't have a definitive list. It's interesting. There's something interesting kind of going on in the background here that may tell a lot about the convention, which is that in the past, Virginia's delegation were elected at congressional district conventions. This year, the makeup of the delegation is being sort of selected by the Trump campaign, which is apparently the way it works in most states, but it's different for Virginia. And I don't know whether it's a question of the alphabet that some other states have come in, and we still don't really know for sure about Virginia, but we do know a few. I mean, obviously, Youngkin is going to be there. Attorney General Miyares is going to be there. From what I've seen so far, I don't think Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears is going to be there. You may know that she famously in 2022 said that she couldn't support President Trump's
reelection. Said it was time for the Republicans to move on from Trump. One of the interesting uncertainties is we don't yet know at this taping who Trump will select as his vice presidential nominee. There's been a lot of talk about Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota, but also there's been some talk about Senator Marco Rubio. And Jeff, he's a known quantity in Virginia, isn't he?
Well, you know, he's also a globalist, which, you know, this is supposed to set off alarm bells within the Trump-led Republican Party. He's the vice chairman of the Intelligence Committee. He sits at the right hand of Mark Warner, the Virginia Democrat who chairs that committee. And Rubio was the moderate, realistic alternative to Trump in an earlier presidential primary back in 2016, when the Republicans in Virginia were looking for, you know, an alternative to Trump. Rubio was very much the establishment candidate. It's just a reminder, I suspect, as he continues his own audition for the vice presidency, that, you know, this is very much Donald Trump's party, and these prospects, actual and perceived, are fully prepared to kind of subsume themselves to 45, who aspires to become 47.
And another one of Rubio's ties to Virginia, in addition to having campaigned here and gotten 30% of the vote in 2016 in the primary, is he's got ties with Attorney General Miyares. They both have sort of similar backstories in that their families overcame oppression in Cuba, came to America. They've, you know, boosted each other's campaigns over the years, so that's a relationship to watch. Of course, we can't talk about presidential politics right now without talking about the elephant in the room, the Democratic angst over President Biden following his debate performance on June 27. Jeff, where do we stand right now with the Virginia Democratic delegation?
Well, for the most part, the delegation is largely behind the president, but there are clear, shall we say, levels of discomfort. Looking at the senators, for example, Mark Warner, who is given to convening meetings whenever there's a problem, was reported about a week ago as attempting to convene a meeting of concerned Democratic senators with the president, perhaps to sort of, talk him out of this reelection campaign. Tim Kaine, who is the junior senator and standing for reelection, is much more affirmative in his expressions of support for the president. But I think this has a lot to do with whom these guys are consulting at this point. Warner is not in cycle. He's not running for re-election, so he's spending a lot of time talking to other members of Congress, members of the donor class, a lot of the consultants and strategists. Kaine, on the other hand, is campaigning in Virginia for a third term, talking to a lot of activists, hearing what they have to say, and a good number of them, and a significant slice of the Democratic coalition, minority voters, black voters, are still all in with Biden. And so I think a lot of this is driving these very different, albeit nuanced, positions on Biden's future as the nominee.
So our focus this week is going to be on what the Virginia delegation is doing out in Milwaukee, but of course we'll have the backdrop of what is happening with the drama regarding President Biden. So I want to thank my colleagues, Jeff Shapiro and Dave Ress, for joining me, and we invite all of you to continue following our coverage on richmond.com and in the Richmond Times-Dispatch.